That looks like a lunchbox. Big surprise. What do we have here? Pagani Design, Japan NH35, blah, 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 blah. Well, let's see what this actually is. Oh, it's the, oh yeah, it's the Aqua Terra homage that actually someone asked me about, if what my opinion was, and if I could do a review, etc. But I didn't have one, so this popped up in my AliExpress feed, and the price is good, so I jumped on it. And I'm going to compare it to the Corgeut and the Phylida that I've got in my collections as well. I think that'll be an interesting comparison. Okay, so we're in for a bit of a treat because, as you can see, well, there's 3 Aqua Terra homages here. I've already done a review of the Corgeut, and I've already done a kind of a, not a full review of the Phylida, but the Pagani is going to be the one on the wrist this week, so I'll take the plastics off and resize it. And many people have asked to do a comparison between, you know, especially these two. So this is gonna be fun. Let's see who ends up winning. So stay tuned. So I took off 2 links. 2 links, one from each side of the bracelet to fit my 7-inch wrist. Interesting note: there was a screwdriver included in the box, but this bracelet does not use screws. It uses push pins. So I had to use my spring bar tool. It has a signed clasp, and this is this side of the bracelet is a trigger release, and then this one's a friction. There's no micro adjust, so it kind of fits snugly on my 7-inch wrist, but not too bad. There's still a little play. The bracelet itself is a 3-link or 3-segment link, where the centers are polished and the ends are brushed, and the edges are nice to see some brushing on the edges too. Usually there's polishing, but this is nice to see. Less fingerprints to be attracted to it. Female end links, so it sits very comfortably on the wrist. But one thing I do notice, and this is probably a finishing quality on this particular version of the bracelet, I don't know if you can see that or hear that, it freezes. There's a point where it freezes and it doesn't move freely. Maybe that'll loosen up with time. I don't know. Lug to lug measurement of 46 millimeters. We've got some nice brushing on the side. There's the bezel is polished, so the transitions between polishing and brushing are kind of nice. They're nicely done. The band width is 20 millimeters, which I'm happy to say is accurate. And I was able to do strap swaps over the course of the week that it was on the wrist. The thickness is 12 millimeters, and the crystal is sapphire, but the crystal on the bottom, which displays the movement, is mineral. Case diameter of 40 millimeters. The last Pagani that I reviewed, it said the case diameter was a certain width and the lug width with a certain measurement, but I'm going to, just for good measure, I'm going to take my calipers and let's measure it. Oh boy. So 10 and 2. And we have, see, that's a 41. So even though the case diameter says on the thing it's 40, this is actually a 41, which is close to the original Omega. Let's measure the bezel. I wonder if, because they just throw the numbers there, if they measure the, yeah, see, the bezel diameter is 40 millimeters. So you've got a 41 millimeter case and a bezel diameter of 40. So if you're thinking you want a certain size on your wrist, that's something to keep in mind. NH35 movement. There's not really much else to say. Screw down, signed crown, and it's screw down. Screw in case back as well. Claimed resistance of 100 meters, water resistance. The whole week on the wrist, it kept great time, so testament to the NH35. There's not really much else to say on this. There is some faceting on the hands, so depending on how the light grabs it, you can see it. When I was in the car and driving, if I needed to check the time, it was super legible. The nice thing about the quote unquote teak decking on the dial is depending on how you view it in the light, it might look charcoal gray, it might look black, it might even look almost light gray, and you'll see that in the wrist rolls, but you can probably kind of see that now. Loom shot, there'll be an elapsed loom at the end of this, and it'll be as expected for Pagani. Not terrible, but not great either. So now, here's where the fun begins. We're going to do a comparison between the Phylida and the Corgeut as promised. I'm going to put this down so I can get set up for the next clip. Okay, here we go. So, 3 watches. They're all essentially the same. They're homaging the Aqua Terra by Omega, and they do a pretty good job, I must say. I've seen the Aqua Terra up close and personal at my my local authorized dealer, because that's the watch I'm pining for. It's the one that I seem to gravitate towards every time I see it in person and every time I see reviews on it, especially now that the new one, or the current one for 2024, has an enamel dial option, which I really like. As nice as the teak decking motif is, not a huge fan. Even when it's vertical with the 6 o'clock date window, I like a clean look. The design should, the hands and the indices should speak for themselves. So we already know what this guy is about. Let's go to the Corgeut. When I saw this, I thought, I like the white dial. I would have preferred black hands, but these have painted blue. They mimic blue anodizing, but they're painted. The second hand is a gold. I liked this version of the Corgeut because it has the logo up top here instead of just the lettering. I think it completes the look. The indices are polished, whereas on some of them, and we'll get to that, they're brushed. 3 o'clock date window. It still has an NH35. It still has a sapphire crystal. The quality of the bracelet, you still have the female end links. The quality of the bracelet is similar to Pagani Design, but you'll notice, polished edges or sides, instead of, versus the brushed of the Pagani. Wearability is very similar. They almost feel identical. Let's do a quick measurement here on the Case size 10 and 2. So this is also a 41, and the bezel measurement is a little smaller, so a millimeter smaller, which explains why it kind of looks the same, but there's something in the back of your head when you look at it going, oh, there's something different. The clasp on the bracelet is you don't need to close one before the other. It's either or, and the trigger is nice and smooth. The action's nice and smooth, and that's just, it doesn't release it. It's friction clasp, so to speak. Still 20 millimeter lug width, so strap swaps are easy. Now, the Phylida. I love this thing. I love the fact that it's an homage to the shades. I love the 6 o'clock date window. The hands are faceted, so they catch the light. The indices are brushed. They're not polished, so that exudes a little bit more of a class, luxury class. Still have a exhibition case back, but you'll notice on the case, it's got that diamond motif or shark tooth motif that replicates the Omega, which the Corgeut doesn't have, and the Pagani doesn't have either. So because of that, it's got a little bit more thickness. Now the Pagani's 12 millimeters. The Phylida, with its slightly domed crown or domed crystal, is 13.6. Let's say 13.5. Still has a screw down crown, but it's not signed. And let's do a case measurement. Actually, let's do the bezel first. Doing this with these calipers is almost impossible. So 40 millimeter bezel and case size of almost 42. So a millimeter bigger than the Pagani, and again, like on the wrist, and when it just feels more substantial. It's got more weight. I don't have my scale handy and I haven't measured it, so but we still have brushed sides. We've got polished centers and brushed ends. The clasp is unsigned, but it only closes one way, so you've got to do this side first before you do that side. No half links, so again, no micro adjust. If you have a standard size wrist, or not a finicky wrist, or a hard to measure wrist, or hard to fit wrist, then you'll be okay with this. But again, 20 mm lug width, so you can do strap swaps. The finish quality and just the overall feel of this in your hand is better than either the Pagani or the Corgeut. But it's also, the Phylida is also more money. Again, it's with either, it's really hard to go wrong. So those are my thoughts. If you have any comments or questions or anything, feel free to put them below. I address them all, and I thank you for watching. Have a great day.
Dun